Welcome into the two-man game. I'm Espo, he's Flex, and we are breaking down today the 3 reasons why you still should have faith in this Phoenix Suns team. Flex, I'm going to let you lay it out. What's number 1 on this list?
The big 3, man. The big 3. I mean, listen, we talk about it. I know they've been disappointing. I want to say they've been disappointing, but the season has been disappointing.
I think you could say the injuries have been disappointing.
Injuries, okay? Yeah. Injuries have been disappointing. But here's the thing, Espo, and I had a great conversation this morning with a trusted person around the league, and he kind of broke things down for me, and I was kind of feeling this already, but it felt good to get validation about this. And his exact comments was, from the outside looking in, if I'm looking at the NBA playoff landscape, there's 3 teams I'm worried about in a playoff series: the Boston Celtics, the LA Clippers, and the Phoenix Suns. And it's because of that star power. When you're going into a series with 3 guys, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Brad Beal, that can single-handedly win a playoff series, let alone games, you have to be concerned. So the regular season hasn't been great. But in my opinion, come playoff time, the big 3 is going to be a very dangerous opponent for any team in the Western Conference. And so that gives me faith that if they can get it together, they'll be all right.
I think my question is, though, have we seen this team play, or these 3 guys play enough together where you have enough faith that the chemistry is there? Because they just crossed the 500-minute mark.
Yes.
Together, and that's not a lot. And you consider, some people say, well, the Clippers have had that in other seasons. Yeah, but they played together.
That's right.
Like this team in its current construction, and those 3 in particular, have not played more than that.
That's right.
Together. So do you have enough faith that pure talent, even though there isn't the amount of time together, is enough?
If you're asking me, Espo, do I think this team has got enough chemistry to win an NBA championship, I'll be apprehensive. I do. I mean, I don't know if they have enough time and chemistry to have that much faith and say, yo, this team can win a championship. But do I think they can compete, be contenders, and give themselves a shot if they get hot? And if things start to really pop off in the playoffs? Absolutely. This is the epitome, and this is the epitome of a puncher's. You got a puncher's chance, right? Mm-hmm. You got a heavyweight boxer that's got a heavy right hand, and in any given fight, if he lands that right hand, you're in trouble. That's the Phoenix Suns, and so chemistry and time. You're right. I would like more, but I'm taking my chances.
Let's put it in perspective. Last year, coming in the playoffs, Kevin and Devin played 10 games roughly.
Yeah.
Before going in. They make it to the second round and push the eventual champion Nuggets the furthest of any team. They win 2 games off of them. Do you feel better about where this big 3 is positioned, having played? I mean, that's significantly more minutes than Devin and Kevin had played together before going into that. Do you feel better where they are right now or where they were going into the playoffs?
That's a great question. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, dog, because you're thinking the same thing I've been thinking. I've been wrestling with this, and I like this shot better. I like this shot better because I believe that obviously the numbers show there's more continuity in 10 games. And I got to say, when I go back and I look at the film from last year, and man, I mean, they pushed the Nuggets as far as they could with 2 guys, roughly 2 guys. I hurt Chris Paul for roughly 5 games, and the DeAndre Ayton didn't play an elimination game. And so I sit here and I say, if that version of the Phoenix Suns took the NBA champions to 6 games, I got to believe that these 3 guys can figure it out. So I feel better about this version than last year.
Second reason that we have is the ability to score from all 3 levels, post, mid-range, and threes. So you're confident enough, because we've talked about it. We haven't seen this team put up enough threes.
Yes.
Is this predicated on them putting up enough threes in terms of feeling positive about where this is headed?
Yeah. This is a 3-point era, and so you got to hit the threes. I like the 3 levels. I like the ability. This is a team that has the ability to go in the post, and they get a lot of points in the paint. But you can throw the ball to Nurk in spurts to calm things down and get points in the paint. You got 3 of the best mid-range players in the world in Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Brad Beal, and you know that this team, even though they don't put up as much, you know that they have the opportunity or they have the potential to go absolutely crazy from the 3-point line. And we haven't seen that yet. So I'm hoping we'll get more of that. But I'll say this. I put out a tweet last night. There was 11 pictures, 11 clips of wide open 3-pointers that the Suns missed. All 11, wide open. Okay, so I like to believe that they're generating enough threes. It just seems like they're not making them. But if they were to hit 3 or 4 more, I mean, you're talking about a real dangerous team. So I like the fact that they're not one dimensional and they can go and score from all levels of the court.
You bring up the open looks. I assume. I mean, we know Grayson has been hitting those, but you need Royce.
Yes.
You need Devin. You need Eric Gordon.
Yes.
In particular, even KD to a certain extent as well, to hit more of those to really find your stride, right?
100%. And again, you're going to see what you got in Isaiah Thomas in the next 14, right? But all those guys have to hit shots. It's a miss-and-make league. I do believe in these guys, Espo. And for as much as the regular season has shown us that, there's been ups and downs, there's just something about this team that tells me when it counts the most, I believe they can make those shots. But yeah, it's going to take a collection of threes from the whole damn squad to get this done.
So what's your third? I know I have the list, but I want to hear you say what the third is.
I want you to tell me what the third is.
They're starting to get healthy at the right time.
There we go.
And the only player not available currently as we film this on Wednesday is Josh Okogie.
What do you think? I actually want your opinion on this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Now you're lobbing it to me.
Yeah, I'm lobbing it to you, baby.
Right, we can run it either way.
That's right. We're versatile. What do you think? I mean, listen, here's what I'll say. There have been times with this Phoenix Suns franchise where health has been on our side. And then at the end, we run into that roadblock, right? For some reason, it's just this weird suspicion that the Suns have dealt with all these injuries. But you look at the landscape of the Western Conference and you start to see how things are playing out. They're getting healthy at the right time, Espo. And I just feel like a healthy Phoenix Suns basketball team in a playoff environment is really dangerous. What do you think?
I think it's fair to say, as we stand right now, that they are the healthiest we've seen them.
Yes.
And that's important. But that does not make me feel better about the thought of staying healthy an entire playoff race. I need to see it to believe it, because every time we feel comfortable about the health of this team, there's some mostly minor injuries that keep a guy out a week, 2. And they say, well, if it was the playoffs, you'd play, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard that. I need to see it. I need to see it to believe it, like I said, because history, and I know history can only tell you so much, and it's only a look back. It's not a look in the crystal ball to tell you what's going to happen. But we've seen traditionally,
that's right,
like you said, this team struggle with that. Whether it's Joe Johnson breaking his face, freaking Devin Booker's hamstring, Chris Paul, everything that happened,
Steve Nash's nose.
Freaking Danny Manning's random knee injury before the playoffs. Like there's all these things. KJ in the celebration. In 92, 93. Like there's always those things. And granted, I think they happen to every team.
Yeah.
But it really feels like when you put them all together, poor Phoenix. It happens so much. So I'm not going to believe in the health until I see it in the playoffs.
I get it.
And even then, I'm going to be skeptical, because you know how tough of a grind a 7-game series is.
Yeah.
And trying to get out of that healthy, especially with a group of guys who have struggled at times this year, in particular Beal and Book, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to see them come out healthy, but they are healthy at the right time right now, and that's important, especially if they're going to make a run to keep that 6th seed.
Yeah.
You need that. So
yeah, it's a war of attrition, brother. And everyone has to go, when you go into playoffs, it's 0-0. Everyone has to deal with the same dynamics. You cross your finger and you cross your fingers and you hope that they get through it clean, because it's roughly a 2.5 month journey if you're going to win the whole thing. And so it's a war of attrition. But again, you said it perfectly. Right now, as currently constructed today, going into a game, the only person out is Josh Okogie. And if we continue to trend in that direction, we're going to have a full deck of cards come playoff times. And that's all you can ask for, is a puncher's chance. If they can go in healthy, I like their chance.
Which of the three, though, do you feel most comfortable with? Because these are all things that obviously you need all three of them, but which one are you most confident in that come playoff or, God forbid, play-in time shows up?
Devin Booker.
So the star power and Devin Booker showing up when the lights are brightest is what you're believing in here?
That's what I'm banking on. Okay. I'm banking on Devin Booker showing up, being Devin Booker that we know in the playoffs. He's held up for the most part in the playoffs. We had a couple hiccups with the Pelican series, right, with the hammy. But I will say this about Devin, man. For his career, he's been a quick healer. He has injuries, and he always seems to come back sooner than the timeline. I'm a little worried about Kevin, and not because I don't think Kevin can get to a playoff run, but because I realize that these are the most minutes Kevin's played in like 10 years. Yeah. I think these are the most minutes he's played since he was 25 years old. So there's a lot of minutes on Kevin this year, and I'm a little bit worried about how they're going to handle the stretch run. And then obviously Brad's been up and down, so I'm more confident that Kevin will be there. If we can get the other two guys to hold up, man, we'll be in good shape.
I think that's an underrated reason that they need to get the 6th seed, though, because you get that little bit of a break. Well, the play-in's going on. Yes. If you don't get that, you're putting additional minutes on them where it's 1 or 2 additional games that you have to play, and you get less time to rest and prepare for who you're playing. So that, to me, is why a 5th or 6th seed is imperative, because you need KD to get a break. Book, Beal, all these guys could very much use that. Plus, the coaching staff gets almost a full week to scheme and prepare for who you're playing, rather than trying to determine a one-game strategy with another game looming potentially as well. So that, to me, is going to be the biggest factor in health in particular, I think, because if you get that rest time, it gives them time to recuperate from any of these nagging things that may lead into the playoffs that could become bigger things.
Were you a fly on my wall today?
I was.
Dude.
I tapped your phone.
You tapped it because I'm going to be honest. I had this conversation before we came in. You saw I had a little pep to my step today, yes. Right? Good conversations today. I will say this. You're 100% right. This is something they're aware of. They want that extra week. Okay. I also will say that I don't think it was a coincidence that Frank Vogel used the word the playoffs start right now for us, right? Yeah. Last night and yesterday in his media availability. You want a hot take?
Of course.
You want a hot take right here in a 2-man game?
Not too hot, though. This is a small room. I don't want you to burn it down.
Suns are going to win 50 games. Suns are going to win 50 games.
You see 11 more.
Yeah, I'm going to point them out for you. They'll win. They'll beat Philly without Embiid. They'll beat Atlanta without Trae Young. They'll handle their business in the 2 San Antonio games. That's 4. And then they're going to go 7-3 in the last 10. This is my hot take. This is what I'm feeling right now after some lengthy conversations today with guys I trust. I think they're ready to go. I wouldn't be shocked if you start to see more of a playoff rotation going forward.
So tighten it.
Tighten it. Yes.
Okay.
And I want to ask you about that.
Does that mean no IT? Because if you're already starting to tighten, how can you experiment?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's a hybrid. Okay. I think you start to tighten it slowly as we go through the 14 games. You maybe don't go full throttle at game 14, but I think you're starting to tighten the screws little bit by little by little. You allow IT to get a little audition, and I think by the time we get to Denver, OKC on the 27th and the 29th, I think they're going to be ready to say this is what the playoff rotation may look like, and this is what the minutes. I have a follow-up for you, though. This is interesting. So having that conversation today led me to ask a follow-up question that I want to ask you. Are you at all worried that if you try to play these last 14 to get to 50 wins or to try to get the 5 or the 6 seed and you overcompensate or you put too much minutes on these guys, are you at all worried that might hurt them going into the playoffs?
I think you have to do it at this point. Okay. I mean, like Frank said, you are in the playoffs now. Okay. And if you you spend a few extra minutes now, you get that break, you hopefully recoup then, rather than, I mean, over a 1 or 2 game period, you're going to put another 40 to 80 minutes on each of these guys anyways. So why not put an extra 2, 3, 4 in a game on them now to avoid having to be in that? Because the last thing you want is no margin for error in terms of a play-in and no rest or preparation time to begin with. So I would do it now, and I think you're right. Once you get to that Nuggets game, you better be ready.
It's go time.
That's lock it in. Everything is in front of you right there, because you play 2 against New Orleans, you play 2 against the Clippers. You could wind up closing a gap real quick by just winning your own games.
Absolutely.
Not even worrying about what other teams do. You could close the gap handling your own business. So I would go full throttle.
They control their own destiny. I think they like that. So I like your answer. They could you go full throttle, you take care of these last 14 like it's the playoffs, and you shoot for that week off. Is that where you going with it?
100%.
I'm going with it too, brother. 2-man game. I love it.
That's the 2-man game from the Four Peaks Mini Bar. I'm Espo. I'm letting Flex set the pick for me. He's going to roll. I'm going to lob it to him. We'll talk to you next time.